My parents called me the night before my wedding and told me to cancel because family comes first. Turns out they wanted my venue and date for my brother's engagement party. I didn't argue. I just smiled, canceled everything, and disappeared for a week. The next Saturday, when they all showed up at the venue dressed to celebrate, they found out exactly who had booked it instead and why no one could get past security without my approval. I, 32M, was 24 hours away from marrying the love of my life when my phone rang at 11 p.m. Dad's name lit up the screen. I remember thinking it was odd timing for a casual call, but I answered anyway because you don't ignore your parents the night before your wedding. That's what dutiful sons do, right? Dad cleared his throat in that way he does when he's about to deliver bad news, and I felt my stomach tighten. He told me that I needed to cancel the wedding. Not postpone. Cancel. He said it like he was asking me to pick up milk from the store. My brain couldn't process the words for a solid 5 seconds. I asked him if he was serious, if this was some kind of joke, and he assured me it wasn't. Mom got on the line then, her voice doing that shaky thing where she tries to sound emotional, but really just sounds manipulative. She said family comes first, that I would understand when I heard them out. My fiancé was in the shower, completely unaware that our entire future was apparently being dismantled by a phone call. I sat on the edge of our bed and listened as they explained. My younger brother, the golden child who could do no wrong, had apparently proposed to his girlfriend of 8 months. He wanted to throw an engagement party, a big one, and he wanted it next Saturday at the venue I had booked 18 months ago, the same venue where I was supposed to be getting married in exactly 1 day. I asked why he couldn't book his own venue, why this couldn't wait, why my wedding had to be sacrificed for an engagement party. Dad said the venue was perfect and my brother had his heart set on it. Mom chimed in that I was being selfish, that I could get married any time, but my brother's moment was happening now. She actually used those words. My brother's moment. As if I hadn't spent 1.5 years planning this day. As if the 200 guests flying in from across the country didn't matter. As if my fiancé's feelings were completely irrelevant. I felt something crack inside me right then. Not break. Crack. Like ice on a frozen lake when you step too far from shore. I asked them if they were paying me back for the venue, the catering, the flowers, the photographer, all of it. Dad got quiet. Then he said that money shouldn't matter when family is involved, that they had helped raise me, and this was the least I could do. I realized then that they expected me to eat the costs. $35,000. Just gone. So my brother could have a party. I told them I needed to think about it, and hung up. My hands were shaking. My fiancé came out of the bathroom wrapped in a towel, took one look at my face, and asked what was wrong. I explained everything. She stood there dripping on the carpet, her face going through about 15 different expressions before settling on pure rage. She asked what I was going to do, and I told her I honestly didn't know. She sat down next to me and took my hand. She said whatever I decided, she was with me. That's when I knew I was going to marry this woman no matter what my parents thought. I called them back at midnight. I told them fine, they could have the venue. I would cancel the wedding. Dad sounded relieved, actually thanked me for being reasonable. Mom said she knew I would come through, that I was a good son. I felt physically ill. After I hung up, my fiancé looked at me like I had lost my mind, but I held up a finger and made another call. The venue coordinator answered on the 3rd ring, clearly annoyed at being woken up at midnight. I explained the situation and asked if I could make some changes to the booking for next Saturday. She was confused since my wedding was supposed to be the next day, but I explained I was canceling that and needed to modify the following Saturday's arrangement instead. Here's what most people don't know about high-end venues. When you book them, you're not just reserving a space. You're entering into a contract. And my contract had some very specific clauses about transferring dates, cancellations, and access control. I had read every word of that contract when I signed it, because I'm thorough like that. It's the accountant in me. The venue coordinator listened as I explained exactly what I wanted to do with my original booking, and after a long pause, she started laughing. She said she had never seen anyone do this before, but technically I was within my rights. We spent 40 minutes on the phone reworking everything. At 2 in the morning, I sent out a mass text to all our wedding guests. I apologized for the incredibly late notice and told them the wedding was canceled due to family circumstances. I didn't elaborate. Some people called immediately, concerned and confused, but I sent everything to voicemail. My fiancé and I spent the rest of the night packing. By dawn, we were on a plane to Hawaii. No one knew where we were going. I turned off my phone as soon as we boarded. We spent a week in Maui at a resort I booked using points I had been saving for our honeymoon. We got married there, on a beach, with 2 strangers as witnesses and a local officiant who sang Hawaiian blessings. It was perfect. Better than perfect. My wife wore a sundress she bought from a shop near the resort, and I wore linen pants and a white shirt. No tuxedo, no bridesmaids, no family drama. Just us and the ocean and a promise that actually meant something. I turned my phone back on during our flight home. 467 notifications. Texts, calls, voicemails, emails. I scrolled through them during the descent. The early ones were concerned. People asking if I was okay, if the wedding was really canceled, what happened. Then came the angry ones from my parents. Mom's texts went from worried to accusatory within 24 hours. Dad left voicemails demanding I call them back immediately. My brother sent exactly 1 text asking what my problem was. I deleted all of it. The last text was from my mother, sent that morning. She told me she hoped I was happy, that I had ruined my brother's special day, that the venue had refused to let them in and embarrassed the entire family in front of everyone. She called me spiteful and cruel. I read it twice and felt absolutely nothing. Here's what happened while we were gone, pieced together from various sources afterward. My parents had shown up at the venue that Saturday at 4 p.m., the time my original wedding was supposed to start. My brother and his fiancée were dressed to impress, as were my parents. They had invited about 50 people, sent out invitations, the whole thing. They walked in expecting to find a venue decorated and ready for their engagement party, probably figuring they'd make some speech about how I had graciously given them this gift. Instead, they found the venue coordinator at the entrance with a security guard. She politely informed them that the space was booked for a private event and they were not on the guest list. My father apparently tried to argue, said there must be some mistake, that his son had given them this date. The coordinator checked her tablet and confirmed that yes, the person who held the contract had indeed arranged an event for that day. However, the guest list was very specific and none of their names appeared on it. My mother demanded to speak to a manager. The coordinator calmly explained that she was the manager and the contract holder had been very clear about security protocols. Only people on the approved list could enter, no exceptions. My father tried to push past. The security guard stepped forward. That's when my parents realized this wasn't a misunderstanding. This was intentional. Inside the venue, 200 of my closest friends, colleagues, and extended family members who actually gave a damn about me were having the party of their lives. I had called it a celebration of new beginnings. There was food, open bar, live music, dancing. My best man gave a speech about loyalty and knowing who your real family is. My wife's maid of honor talked about chosen family versus blood family. People posted photos on social media all night. My parents saw every single one of them because apparently they spent the evening sitting in their car in the parking lot, refreshing their phones. The best part, the absolute cherry on top, was who I did invite. My wife's entire family, who had always treated me like a son. My college friends who had been there through everything. My coworkers who had become genuine friends over the years. My aunt and uncle, dad's brother and sister-in-law, who had always been kind to me and had actually questioned my parents when they heard what happened. Several of my cousins. Even my maternal grandmother, who at 86 years old told my mother on speakerphone that she was being ridiculous and, of course, she was going to the party. I didn't invite my parents, my brother, or his fiancée. The contract allowed me to specify exactly who could and could not access the venue. I had added a clause requiring government-issued ID checks against the guest list. The venue coordinator had been thrilled to enforce it. She later told me my father had threatened to sue, to which she had responded by showing him the contract with my signature and all the relevant clauses highlighted. When we got back, I took my time getting home. We stayed in a hotel near the airport for 2 days, enjoying being married, ignoring reality. Eventually, I knew I had to face it. I drove to our apartment and found my parents' car parked outside. They must have been watching for me because they were out and walking toward me before I even got my key in the door. Dad was red-faced, angrier than I had ever seen him. He asked where the hell I had been, what I thought I was doing, how dare I humiliate them like that. Mom was crying, which was her usual tactic. She asked how I could be so cruel, how I could turn the family against them. Didn't I care about my brother at all? I looked at both of them and felt that same nothing I had felt reading Mom's text. I told them I had been on my honeymoon, that I had gotten married, that I was done. Mom's tears dried up pretty fast. She asked what I meant by done. I explained slowly, like I was talking to children. I told them I was done being the son who bent over backward to accommodate everyone else. Done being the one who was expected to sacrifice because family comes first, but only when it was convenient for them. Done pretending that my brothers' wants mattered more than my commitments. Done with all of it. Dad started to interrupt, and I held up my hand. I told them I didn't cancel my wedding. I relocated it. And I took everyone who actually mattered to me along for the ride. I explained the party, the guest list, the security measures. I explained that I had paid for everything with my own money, that the venue had been mine to do with as I pleased, and that their assumption they could just take it demonstrated exactly why I had made the right choice. Mom called me vindictive. I agreed. Dad said I had always been jealous of my brother. I shrugged. Maybe I had been, but not anymore. I had a wife who loved me, friends who showed up for me, and a life that didn't revolve around being the family doormat. My brother called me that evening. He was less angry than I expected, more confused. He asked why I had done it, why I hadn't just talked to him about it. I reminded him that he was the one who wanted my venue, my date, my entire wedding setup for an engagement party. He got quiet, and then admitted our parents had told him I had offered it, that I had wanted to do something nice for him. The pieces clicked into place. My parents had lied to both of us. They had told me my brother wanted it, told him I was offering it, and expected to orchestrate the whole thing without either of us comparing notes. I asked him why he needed an engagement party at a venue that cost 35 grand. He said he didn't, that his fiancée had wanted something simple. Our parents had insisted on something big, something impressive. I asked if they were paying for it. Long silence. Then he admitted they had expected him to split the cost with me. I laughed. I actually laughed. I told him he should probably have a conversation with our parents about boundaries and expectations. He hung up without saying goodbye. Over the next few weeks, various family members called. Some were angry, some were confused, a few were actually supportive. My aunt told me she was proud of me for standing up for myself. She said my parents had been pulling this kind of thing for years, always expecting everyone to cater to my brother, and someone needed to finally push back. She had loved the party. My grandmother called to tell me my mother wasn't speaking to her, which apparently happened every few years and didn't bother her much anymore. She said the venue had been beautiful and she was glad I had found someone who appreciated me. My parents sent a formal letter a month later. Actual paper, mailed to my apartment. It was 2 pages of grievances about my behavior, my attitude, my disrespect. It concluded by stating that until I apologized to my brother and made amends for embarrassing the family, I was not welcome at family gatherings. I read it once, showed it to my wife, and we both agreed it was the best wedding gift they could have given me. I kept it though. Framed it, actually. It hangs in my home office as a reminder. My brother got married 8 months later. I wasn't invited. I didn't care. I heard through the grapevine that it was a modest ceremony, mostly because he and his fiancée paid for it themselves after my parents backed out of funding it. Apparently, they had offered to pay initially, but attached so many strings and demands that my brother finally told them to keep their money. I felt a little bad for him. Not enough to reach out, but a little. My wife and I built our own life. We spent holidays with her family, who welcomed me completely. We made traditions that had nothing to do with obligation or guilt. We traveled, bought a house, adopted a dog. I got a promotion at work. She started her own business. Life moved forward in a way that felt clean and unburdened. 3 years after the wedding that wasn't, my mother called. Not Dad, just her. She asked if we could meet for coffee. I almost said no automatically, but my wife encouraged me to at least hear her out. So I agreed to a public place, neutral ground. Mom looked older when I saw her, more tired. She ordered tea and spent 10 minutes making small talk before finally getting to it. She apologized. Not for everything, but for assuming I would just go along with their plan. She said she had been trying to keep everyone happy and had failed spectacularly. I asked if Dad felt the same way. She looked down at her tea and admitted he didn't, that he thought I owed them an apology still. I told her that wasn't going to happen. She nodded like she expected that answer. She asked if there was any chance we could have some kind of relationship, even a small one. I considered it. I thought about grudges and bitterness and whether holding on to anger was worth it. Then I thought about that phone call at 11 p.m., that demand to cancel my wedding, that complete disregard for my life and my choices. I told her maybe someday, but not now. That I needed to know she understood what she had done, not just that it had backfired, but that it was wrong from the start. She said she was working on it, that she was seeing a therapist. I respected that at least. We finished our coffee in mostly silence, and when we parted ways, she hugged me. I didn't pull away, but I didn't really hug back either. My brother called a year after that. He was having a baby. He wanted me to know. He said he understood now what I had been trying to tell him about boundaries and expectations. His in-laws had apparently given him a crash course in normal family dynamics. He didn't ask me to be involved, didn't demand anything. Just wanted to share the news. I congratulated him and meant it. We talked for 20 minutes about nothing important. It felt like meeting a stranger who happened to share your history. I'm writing this now because someone asked me if I regretted it. If I regretted burning that bridge so completely, making such a dramatic statement. The honest answer is no. Not for a second. That night on the phone, my parents showed me exactly how much my happiness mattered to them. The party, the security, the locked doors, all of it was just me believing them. They had told me family comes first, and I agreed. I just redefined who my family was. My wife is asleep in the next room. My dog is snoring at my feet. Tomorrow, we're having brunch with her parents and my aunt and uncle. Next month, we're taking a trip to Japan we've been planning for a year. I have a life that I chose, built with people who choose me back. No one demands I sacrifice for them. No one expects me to set myself on fire to keep them warm. Sometimes you don't get closure. Sometimes you don't get the apology you deserve or the recognition that you were wronged. Sometimes the best revenge isn't some dramatic confrontation or public vindication. Sometimes it's just living well, choosing better, and walking away from people who only value you when you're useful. My parents wanted me to put family first. I did. I just made sure I was part of that family.